Hi everyone, welcome back to another lesson. And in this lesson, basically we're going to create our Livewire newsletter component where the user can basically sign up to our newsletters. As you guys remember, we created a model called subscriber for our name, email, and token. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to be using. All right, we're going to install Spatie for the MailChimp. So basically when the users subscribe here, their details will be automatically saved on the MailChimp server. In order for you to, when you create your newsletters and stuff, you can just send the emails from there. All right, we can obviously, we will register with MailChimp. We will obviously set up our MailChimp API keys in our environment files in over here. And obviously our keys right there. Okay, and then we're going to create a mailable class. So if when the user subscribe, an email will be sent to that user, and an email will be BCC basically to the admin user, whoever who wants to know that if someone subscribes. So basically send 2 emails out, and we're going to set up Mailtrap in order to basically just do a test run of our emails, just to make sure our emails actually sent out. We're going to use Mailtrap for that. And yes, and then lastly, we're actually going to set up the methods inside our Livewire Form component. Okay, so then we basically going to set up everything in there. And yes, so let's get started. So if we go to the browser right now, okay, we will see this. And right at the bottom right here, I've just changed it to subscribe to our newsletter, pardon me, and to get our latest post in your inbox. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to fill in just a form field with, I said I'm going to do a model, but I think I don't have time to do all of that in this lesson. So I'm just going to put in a name field and an email field right here, and obviously a subscribe button. Okay, so let's do that. So if we go to resources, views, home.index, okay, so under our action button, we will see that I've just changed the details, the H1 to subscribe to our newsletter and get your latest post in your inbox. Now the bottom part right here, this, I'm just going to create a div. Now inside the div, I'm actually going to do a Livewire form component. All right, so let's create it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open our terminal, and we're going to do PHP artisan make Livewire. Right, so we're going to make Livewire, and we're going to create a newsletter. I think that will be right. We just say newsletter. And then inside that, we're just going to do form, just like this. All right. So you press enter, then we basically have our Livewire component. So if we go to the class, right, so this is the class that returns the Livewire newsletter form view right here. So this is, we're going to create our form inside here. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do, let's see where we now. All right. So we're going to create the Livewire form component. And then we obviously, after we're done here, then we're going to install Spatie. All right, so let's create the form. All right, so the first thing on the div, right here, let's just test to see if it's working. It's inside our index. Right here, we're just going to do Livewire, and then we're going to go for newsletter and obviously the form. Okay, like this. So let's see if it's working. Go to the browser and we refresh. As you can see, do your work, then step back. All right, so we know the Livewire component is being displayed right here. Okay, so let's start filling it in. All right, so go back. So inside our form, right here, I'm just going to create a div on top. For now, let's just give it a class of margin bottom of, let's say, 4. Just in case, we can obviously change it. Now we're going to include the alert inside this component. The reason for that is, so if the users press the subscribe button, they will be able to get the notification to say they subscribe. Okay, so we're going to include our alert component. That will be under UI alerts. Okay, so we're going to include that x.ui.alerts. Okay, so we include our alerts up there, so we know it's included. Now the next thing is we're going to create a form. Okay, so the form like this. We're not going to have an action method with a Livewire form component. Nope. What we do is we do wire.submit, okay, .prevent, okay, prevent. Now that's going to equal to, now you can call it form submit like this. This is the method inside our Livewire, not like this, form submit. So basically when we create a method in here, so public function form submit, right? This is the method that we're calling inside here, right? So this form y.submit. So if you just call it submit like this, then you just change this to submit. But for me, I'm just going to call it form submit so that we just kind of know where it comes from. All right, so just easy. Otherwise, you'll confuse it with another name. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a div. So this is going to be our name field. So we're going to create a div inside. Let's create a div. Let's do a div that encapsulates everything, because if we need to add some spacing and stuff between the elements, we can do that. Okay, so let's do that. So it's a div, and then now we're going to create a group for our input. Now we can do if we go to our form that we created before, where is it? Dashboard categories.create. Right, you remember we used the XJet label and the XJet input. Okay, so we can use the same ones. So let's use that label, okay, for name, and the other one that we're going to use, XJet input. We're obviously going to change this, change it up a bit. We're not going to do the autocomplete. We're going to leave the class, we're going to leave the type, and we're going to leave the name. So we can just do this. Right, and then obviously we need to add the error in as well. So if there's any errors, we can actually display the errors. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just trying to get us to do it quickly since we already done this. So I'll have to put my name in front like this. Okay, so like that. Okay, so let me just see. We got our label, got an input. Okay, so let's see if we can see it on the browser. So let's go to our browser, refresh. As you can see, we've got our name right there. Obviously, the styling is a little bit of work. I'm actually going to make this box a little bit more narrow. So let's do that. Okay, so go back. So we're going to give it a class of max width of 1. You know what I'm going to do? Just delete this. I'm just going to do max width. Let's see. Let's try this the 4 times. Like this. Obviously delete that. And just save it. Let's see if it works. Refresh. It's a bit narrow, so basically I'm going to do a container and just center it into the center. Let's do. I'm just going to add a container. You know what? We're going to do this class on the main div here, and then we're obviously just going to add the container mx auto, so that it just basically centers everything. And I'm obviously just going to remove that, make it look nice. Refresh, everything center. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align the text to the left. So Tailwind class, so we can just do, hopefully it works, text left. Well, now it's working. So obviously I'm just going to give it some little bit of styling to our label right there. So a label, let's give it let's give it a class or font bold and text white. Hopefully it looks nice, because I don't want to stick too long on the styling part of it. There's quite a lot of things to do. Right. Did I save it as the text? Right. Okay. All right. Let me leave it for now. I don't know why, because I don't want to waste time. So let me just leave it at the font bold. All right. Let me leave it like that. Okay. So then we can just copy this one down. All right. And this one is just basically going to be the email. All right. And we're going to change this to email. And email. So please forgive me for if the styling is not up to standard, but you get the idea, so that you guys can basically style and do it however you want. Right, so for the input, we're just going to do a wire model. Okay, the wire model on this one is just going to equal to the name. Okay, and the same for this input right here. We're just going to wire model, and that's going to equal to the email. All right, so basically these model classes right here is the ones that we're going to create right here. So let me create them quickly. So public string, this one is going to be the name, and it's going to equal to an empty string. Okay, and the public string, and this one is going to be an email. That's going to equal to an empty string as well. Okay, so this right here, that wire model.name is basically this, and this wire model.email is basically this one right here. Okay, so that's why I've done that. So the form submit, okay, is the form submit that we're calling on our form right there, but we're preventing the default behavior right here. Okay, so the next one that we're going to do is we're obviously going to add that button, so the submit button. So let's copy it and paste it in here. And so submit button. Okay, so then we just paste it in here. So div. Obviously I haven't copied it right because it didn't come through. So let me copy it again. Now I'm just going to change this to yes, please. Just for fun's sake. Okay, so let's do it like that. So we got our submit button. So let's see how it looks like. All right, so we got our yes, please. So if they press that button, they will actually be subscribed. Okay, and then we're obviously going to need to add some little spacing and stuff like that. So let's do that. So inside here, I'm just going to do a space of Y. Of, let's go for 5. Let's go for 5. Let's see how it looks like. Refresh. Just give it some little bit more space in between that. Okay, so if the user type in something here, okay, it's all good stuff. All right, the yes, please, you can change it to subscribe. So if we go in here, I just did yes, please. So you can obviously change it to subscribe like this. Okay, so let me do it the conventional way. So just subscribe. Okay, so let's leave it like that. All right, so we got basically our view done. So inside here, we got our view. So our form with our alert right there. We got our form, the wire form. Okay, and we got our name and input fields right here. All right, so the next step, we've done this. The next step is actually install Spatie newsletter. Okay, so let's do that. So we open a new window. I'm just going to call it, see if we can find it, Spatie newsletter. Install Spatie newsletter. All right, so let's go to the GitHub. All right, so we got the GitHub. So let's move a little bit down. As you can see, under the installation, we will do a compose require, and then we will publish the vendor folder. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let's go to our VS Code or whatever code editor you use. Let's install Spatie. Okay. Now this is what we're going to use to basically, like I said before, link it up to our database, to our MailChimp server. Okay, so it's busy installing. See you when it's finished. Okay, now that's all done. We're going to basically publish our vendor folder. So let's go to our browser again. So we go to PHP Artisan vendor publish. So copy that because we're going to need that. Okay, so let me just make it a bit bigger. Okay, publish it, and it's published. Now let's go to our, let me just make it like this. If we go to our convec file, you will see the newsletter file right here. Okay, so then you will see this is the file that we basically published, the newsletter one. So we're going to get the MailChimp API key, all right, and obviously the mail list ID, all right. So we're going to get that from our MailChimp, right? So basically we got our, we installed that and published it. Now the next thing is to register with MailChimp. Okay, so let's do that. So in our browser, let's just open a new window. And in here, I'm just going to type in MailChimp. Now I already registered an account. Okay. So basically what you do is just go to sign up. Okay. And just basically create an email and username and stuff like that. Now I already signed up. So once you completed that, you will get to a dashboard. Right. You will basically get to a window like this when you're completely done. So let me just make it a bit bigger for you guys. Right. So I'm just going to close this one. So obviously going to keep my blog open and the MailChimp. All right. Now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to, you see at the bottom right here, you will see your name or your initial of your first your name. So click on it. Then you go under account. All right, then you go to extra. You're going to go to API keys. Okay. Now, if your account is new, all right, this part right here is not, it won't show. It will say create a key. All right. So what you do then is basically you will have an act like this. Then you just create a key. Basically like that. Okay, so the top part, your API key, just create the key, then you copy that key. Just select everything and you copy it. Okay, now in VS Code, what we're going to do is we have to go to your environment file right here, and at the bottom right here, what we're going to do is, let me just paste it in for now. You see your mail API key right here that the Spatie newsletter is requesting. So just copy that as well. And I'm just going to paste it in here and just put an equal sign right there. All right, so that is our API. Okay. The next one is our mail list ID. So just copy that and go to your environment file and just paste it in there. Okay. So as you can see, this env is referencing our environment variable. Okay, so let's do that. Now, the next thing is the list ID. So let's go and get that as well in MailChimp. Okay, so inside MailChimp, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to your audience, click on audience. All right, then you're going to go to manage on your right hand side here, manage, then go to settings. Okay, so that takes a while. Okay, and then you go to settings right here again. Okay, so settings, audience name and defaults. Just click on that. Then you'll see this audience ID. All right, that's the one that you're looking for. So just copy that as well. So let me copy it. Go to Visual Studio Code and just paste it in there. And then save your environment file and just close it because now we don't need to do it anymore. So we already got it in. Okay, so in our newsletter, we can close as well. We don't need that anymore. All right, now the next part that you're going to do in our MailChimp right here, this right here, click on settings again and go to audience fields and merge tags. Just click on that. Now, what you're going to do is there's going to be two fields here. The first one will be first name. And then it's got a variable like this, F name. Other one is surname or last name, and it's going to be L name like this. Okay, it's going to be L name. Now, what you can do is you can delete the last name and just change the first name just to name, and then just change the merge field just to name as well. Okay, then you press save. Okay, then the next step is to add a field. Okay, so then you add a text field, okay, like this. Okay, so once you've done the text field, then you rename that text field token, and you just, in the merge column right here, you're just going to call it token again. Okay, and don't close this, don't select the birthdays, just select the name and the token, because the email is automatically selected. Okay, just do that. All right, then you press save. Okay, so that's all done. So we got that and we got that. Just keep it open because I want to reference this when we do the Livewire methods. Okay, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Okay, so we done the mail API keys. We registered with MailChimp. We create subscriber mailable. Okay, so let's create our mailable class quickly. Now, the reason for that is because, like I explained before, when you use a subscribe, they're just going to get an email to say that they subscribe to your newsletter and welcoming them. And obviously an email that we will send to the admin user to know that this user is subscribed to your email list. Okay, you don't have to, but to do a BCC, but it's your choice. Okay, so let's create the subscribable mailable. Okay, so let's do that. Let's clear this. So how do we do that? So we do PHP artisan, okay, make mail. Okay, and the mail is going to be called subscribe, subscriber mailable. I think that's what I'm going to call it. Let's do it like this, subscriber mailable. All right. Now, the thing is, what we want to do is we just don't want the mail class. We actually want to add markdown. Markdown is just basically going to equal that to emails. Emails, going to create an emails folder, and inside that, we're just going to do subscriber email. Just thinking what I want to call it. Subscriber. Yeah, let's do subscriber mail. Like this. Okay. So if we press it, it created the mail. Okay. So what we do under AMP, paste mail, we will get a subscriber mail like this, and it will actually add the markdown in for us. Okay, with the emails.subscriber.mail. So how do we get that? So inside our resources, views, emails, you will see we've got our subscriber mail, and it will actually automatically add our markdown in there. Okay, so what we can do is you can obviously change anything you want here, but I'm just going to do like this. Thank you for subscribing. Okay, that you can obviously add more stuff, and I'm not going to do that. Let's just do that. I'll do it like this. All right. So the next part that we're going to do is we obviously need to format our mailable class. So let's go to our mail class, app mail, subscriber mail right here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a public variable, called data. Okay. Now, the data is basically we're going to pass it through the constructor data. Okay. Then we're going to say this dot data. Now, this data variable, I will show you now in a sec what it is for when we get to the methods inside our form Livewire component. Inside this component right here, inside the method right there, we will basically send that data variable, but I will show you guys when we get there. So that's the kind of variable basically passing to this component right here. All right, so then we're going to do is we build that. The next part is we need to return this dot markdown, but we actually want to add a couple of things in here. So I want to add the subject, and we're going to call this one thank you. thank you. Okay, that's the subject. Or you can say welcome. Welcome to our newsletter. Okay, let's just call it thank you for now. So you can do obviously anything you want to do. I'm just going to say thank you because we're going to test all of this stuff. The next one is going to be from. All right. So what email address do you want to use it to be from? I'm just going to use admin@example.com. Or this could be your, let me just make it more simpler, your email.com. Okay. And the second part is basically going to be your name, and it's going to be just put in your name. All right. So we've got our subject, we've got our from, and then we've got our markdown right here. All right. So then you save that. Okay. Now we've got our mailable class. Okay. So we've got our mailable class. Now we obviously have to set up our Mailtrap in our env file. So how does Mailtrap work? Basically, Mailtrap is like your central server that basically captures all the emails that you're basically trying to send from obviously the application. And it's just a test place where you can actually test to see in a dev environment if your things work and stuff like that. All right, so let's go to set up Mailtrap quickly. Let's go to our browser. So we obviously got our MailChimp still open here, which is all good. I'm just going to go to the dashboard right there. I'm just going to look for Mailtrap.io. Okay. So I'm already signed up. So you can obviously sign up for free. Okay. Now I've already signed up. I already got an account with them. So I'm just going to go to my inbox. All right. So basically this is what your inbox will look like when you're already signed up. You just go to your demo inbox. All right. Under integrations right here, just choose your Laravel integration. So right here, Laravel 7+. All right. Then you have all your details right here. Okay. Just copy them all. Just copy it all like this. And just copy them and go to your code editor. Under your environment files, you will see this whole thing right here. Just replace it with a Mailtrap with all those details that you just copied. Okay. So let me go back there. I think I might have been gone a bit too fast. So under your integrations, you will see there's one for Python, Django, Fuel PHP, and we obviously with Laravel 7+. Just choose that one and just copy the environment variables. Or you can just press the copy button right there. Okay. All good stuff. All right. So let's go back. So basically, if we send an email, it will come to this inbox right here. So then we will be able to see it. Right now, it's empty. Okay. So let's go back. So we've done that. We got our mailable class. The next thing is we need to create our methods inside our Livewire component. So we got our form right here. So we obviously got our submit. Now the thing is, what we're going to do is before we do that, we need to create a validation rules for our form. All right. So these rules in Livewire basically looks like this: protected rules, and that's going to equal to an array. Okay. And that is going to be the name. In our case, the name is required. Okay. You can obviously add as many rules as you want in here, like the normal validation. You can obviously do that, but I'm just going to do it like this. But it's an array. The next one is going to be email. I set that to an array as well. Obviously, if it's a single item, you don't need to do an array like this, but my OCD and stuff like that. I kind of, one thing looks a certain way, I kind of want everything to look the same way. All right, email, and I want to do an email right here. The next part is it must be unique. Okay, unique. Okay, it must be unique in the subscribers table. Okay, so if someone already subscribed to that email address, they will get an error. Okay, so that's basically our validation rules right there. Now in our form submit right here, basically the form submit is basically if we go to our form, all right, this right here, this prevent submit right here is basically this that we're calling. All right, so basically when that happens, we do this dot validate. So this is kind of a Livewire validation method. So when they call this, it will actually validate the rules right there. Okay, so nice and easy. Now the next part is we're going to generate that token that we're going to save inside our MailChimp. Okay, so bcrypt. Okay, I'm going to use the email as the means to generate the token. Okay, so we got our token right there. Now the data, if you remember, the data that we're going to send to our subscriber mailable class, okay, is going to be this data. Now it's going to be an array, okay, and it's going to be a name, okay, and the name is going to equal to this dot name, okay, and then we're also going to do that for the email as well. If you guys are lost or confused or anything like that, just ask in the comment section and I'll see if I can try and help and clear it up for you guys as well. So we got our token, we got our data. All right. Now the thing is, I want to create an action method. All right. So inside our actions right here, got our Jetstream and Fortify. I just want to create a new folder and I'm going to call this newsletter. Okay, newsletter. Now, inside that, I want to create an action. Okay, and that action is basically going to be an email subscriber action. Okay, so let's create that. So new file, email subscriber action. Okay, like this .php. No, not. I obviously don't have to put the action in there. You can just call it email subscriber. But for me, I'm just going to call it an action just as an example. Okay. So obviously inside this class, we're going to obviously do a PHP. So we're going to create our PHP class right here. So that question mark PHP. All right. So we've got a PHP. We're going to do our namespace. And that's going to be an app, actions, okay, and obviously newsletter. Okay, so obviously to make sure that we have the correct name spacing. Okay, the next one is we're going to use our app models. We're going to use our subscriber model right here. Okay, subscriber. All right, so we got that. Now this action is basically going to subscribe or get our subscriber from the database. So basically this is what this action does. So this class. Okay, so let's do a class equal to email. Come on, subscriber action. Okay, so we put it right there. Let's create a class. Now we're going to do a public function. We're just going to do invoke. Right, and we're going to create an array from the form data. Okay, then we're going to do this dot get or create subscriber email with the form data. All right, so we got it right there. Now the thing is, what we want to do now is we're going to create this private function in here. So private function. Okay, so get or create subscriber email. Quite a mouthful of a name. Okay, so they're obviously going to be an array and form data. It's just kind of clear as if someone reads it what it does. Okay, so inside here we're just obviously gonna bring in the subscriber. Okay, so basically return subscriber. Okay, we're going to return that first, or create with the form data. Okay, so basically this is what we're going to do. Right, so if we go in here, so inside our subscribe right here, we're going to call that new subscribe action, email subscribe action. All right, and then we're going to create an array. No, just do it like this, create an array. All right, so obviously the variables that we're going to pass through, all right, it's going to be the name. So this is basically the form data. This dot name. Okay, and obviously with the email is going to be this dot email, and obviously the token is going to equal to basically the token that we created on top, like this. Okay, so that is basically our create method, where we're going to create a new email, new user. So now we're going to use Spatie to basically save it in our MailChimp database. So news, if it's not a newsletter, is, just make sure I spell everything correctly, subscribed with this dot email. Okay, and then obviously open and close. Now the newsletter is going to be subscribe. If it's not, so then we're going to subscribe, and spell subscribe with this dot email. So if the user is basically not subscribed, then we're going to subscribe them with this email. Okay, now the details that we want to pass through is, if you guys remember, we created that field name. Okay, all right, so basically if I go back to our browser, let's go to MailChimp, under audience, view audience settings. So on the inbox, audience fields right here. Okay, so this name right here, this is basically what I'm referring to, and obviously the token is the next one that I'm going to refer to. Okay, so let's go back to VS Code. So that's the name right there. Okay, so that name is going to equal to this dot name, not dot arrow name. Okay, and the next one is going to be obviously our token. Now our token is going to equal to this email. No, no, that token, the token right there. All right, because we already created it. Okay, so let's do that. So we got that done. All right, the next part that we're going to do is we need to send an email. I think we need to send an email. So let's do the mail to. Okay, so the mail, just to make it true, it's going to equal to this email. Okay, so we're going to send basically the email to the user that filled in the data, and then we're going to BCC. BCC, you can do it like this. I'm just going to put in your email.com and obviously your name. So let's say name, your name. You can do it like this because remember, we already created the BCC, right? So we already done that, so you don't need to edit in here. Okay, but I just want to show you that you can do it in here as well, like this. All right, and then you obviously do the send method on there, and you're going to create a new subscriber email, that one that we created, that mailable subscriber mailable. Right, this, and then we're going to just pass in the data. Right, you remember the data in the subscriber email, this one right here. obviously the data is going to equal to this data is the data we're going to pass through in this mail class right here. Okay, so when we're done with that, we're going to actually flash the session. Okay, just say session, okay, flash. Okay, we flash the session with the success. Okay, and we just say you come on, you, if I can spell, you are subscribed, like this. Okay, that took long enough. Okay, the next one is we're just going to reset basically the input fields. Okay, this dot reset. This is basically like a helper method for Livewire. So instead of creating a new method to actually reset the inputs, you can actually just use this dot reset. Okay, so that is basically inside our form submit. And making sure I got everything in here, form submit, and then obviously we're gonna render the view. So fingers crossed and hope everything works. So I'm just gonna die and dump like this, working just to make sure that we hit the right place with the, when we press enter there. Okay, so let's do that. Go here, refresh. I can close and subscribe. As you can see, we get that working, so it means we're hitting the right form. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so go back, we can delete this. Now the problem is with emails, because we're going to use queuable, we need to actually run the artisan worker, okay, in the background to actually send the form. So we're going to do that quickly. And how do we do that? So we're going to open our terminal. We're going to do PHP artisan queue work. Okay, so while that is going to run, we're going to test quickly our emails. So let's go to the browser and we can keep Mailtrap open. So if we press subscribe, you can see our validation. Obviously this doesn't look nice. So if we probably going to make this form white, but I'm just going to leave it as is. Right, I'm just going to put in name and I'm just going to put email at email.com just as a test. So let's click subscribe. Token. Oh boy, I misspelled something. As you can see, when we create it right here, we have our N. We just need to change it to M. M from to N. They sound very close together. Right, so let me fix that. You probably caught that error. All right, so if you're done, good job. All right, let's check it again. Okay, so let's go back to the browser. Refresh. Okay, just use name and email.com at email.com. Just press subscribe. Close new model notify. Okay, so let's test it again. So name. Let's create something different. John Doe, John Doe, John at email.com. And if you press subscribe, okay, you can see that you are subscribed. That's what we want to do. So if we go to our Mailtrap and we refresh, and you can see I already tested that one, and this one just comes through. Thank you for subscribing. So everything works, good stuff. All right, so now we go to our MailChimp. So now we're going to see all contacts. As you can see, we got our name at email.com and our John at email, the one that we just subscribed. And we obviously got our name in there. And yes, you can see we got our token right here. Okay, so all good stuff. And the source is by the API, so everything works. All right, and yes, obviously for homework, you guys need to learn how to obviously do the unsubscribe. And I'm going to give you a hint. All right, the hint will basically be like this. All right, create a unsubscribe clause with a component with Livewire and call it unsubscribe. Okay, then basically you're going to work on your subscriber model, and you're just going to do this more or less. All right. So obviously when you do the newsletter like this, just remember to bring in Spatie. Use Spatie newsletter like that. All right. So if you guys, that's just homework for you. All right. So just copy and paste and just make it work for yourself. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. The likes just help for other people to find the videos. That's the reason why I say just like it. It's just for Google search engine, just to get other people to also find the video, because it means it's useful for yourself. All right. So then other people can just find it. All right. Thank you guys. And I'll see you in the next one, where we're going to continue still with the blog. I just want to add the show view and obviously do the feature button as well. So yes, thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.